Oh man, y'all know I ain't got no good sense, man. It's 186 degrees, man. Let me take this sweater off. First, we gonna get you to the Quaalude. Now, once we get you to the I could help it, y'all. Y'all know I have no sense whatsoever, and I have no chill. Oh, I got a kick out of that. I hope y'all did too. Greetings and salutations, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of Straight Talk, where we give it to you straight with no chaser. I am your host, Christopher Platt. As always, we are broadcasting this evening live from here in the Platt Cave. How's everybody doing out there this evening? I was trying, I was trying. Anywho, I'm silly. Y'all know I have no sense whatsoever. So no disrespect. Shout out to the homie. But yeah. Hope everybody's doing all right out there this evening. I guess we got to get into the Bill Cosby thing, so we're going to talk about that today, since it's such a pertinent topic. So we'll get on that. I also want to discuss today the importance of having integrity. I also want to discuss the importance of having integrity today. We'll get to that, and hopefully we'll be able to get to your questions here as well. Now, if you are new to the broadcast, there's a couple of ways we go about doing this. You can first and foremost log on through the social media stream of your choice, be it Facebook, Twitter, etc. Right? There's so much new stuff out there. I don't know what's up, what's down. Right? I've reached that age, like technology has lapped me. But you can do that, or you can log on through the actual Ustream site itself. You'll have to create a username, password, blah, 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 etc., etc. You know the deal. You know the drill. Now, once you do either of those things, you are now able to participate in our chat room. And that's where I pull your questions, your comments, and your concerns. So feel free. You can chat with each other as well. Don't let me stop you. So again, it starts off as a monologue. Hopefully it turns into a dialogue. I'm just as interested to hear what you have to say as hopefully you are as interested to hear what I have to say. So that's how you do that. This is our show. This is the People's Show. I thank you guys for tuning back in this evening. Again, we are going to get to the Bill Cosby situation. I feel as if I have to talk about that because, right, I just feel like I have to talk about that. That's pertinent and prevalent. And later on, we're going to talk about the importance of integrity. So how's everybody out there doing? How's your week? I hope everybody had a really good 4th of July. We'll just say mine didn't turn out the way I had anticipated, although I was able to see some fireworks, and we'll leave it at that. We'll leave it at that. But I hope everybody had a tremendous America Born Day. Normally, I go out of my way to dress up, and I'll at least throw on some red, white, and blue. You know what I mean? Like maybe I'll have on a navy suit with a white shirt and a red tie. You know what I mean? But this year, I was good. I wasn't feeling very patriotic. And I probably won't be feeling very patriotic until America starts doing right by my people. Flat out. So, anywho, I hope y'all saw some fireworks and ate some ribs and got drunk and got high and do whatever it is that you do to celebrate and commemorate occasions in which we gather as human beings to break bread and enjoy fellowship. Because fellowship doesn't always just have to be in the house of the Lord. Fellowship is just conversing and meeting and vibing with others, right? Not saying, I'm just saying. So anywho, I want to get to your comments here. Let's see. We'll get to your questions. There's something that happened this morning, too, that I want to really touch into. I want to wait until we get a few more people on the line before we get into that. So in the meantime, I'm going to look over here in the social stream. Somebody send me a shout out. Let me know who's in the room. And we're going to discuss some of your questions here. Again, we will get to the Bill Cosby situation, but we're just going to buy a little time until more people get into the room. So let me see here. What do I think about the Confederate flag issue? I think it's 2015, and I don't really understand why. Actually, I completely understand why that symbol would still be hanging outside of courthouses and be so prevalent within our society. Not on an individual basis, but I mean public shit. You know what I mean? Like courthouses and state buildings and stuff like that. Stuff that's supposed to be of the people. And of course, as soon as certain retailers started pulling them, you know, the price went through the roof, or the sales rather went through the roof, which also says a lot if you're paying attention. A lot of y'all not paying attention, but that says a lot if you're paying attention. And you know something? The late great comedian Patrice O'Neal, he said this one time, and not only do I wholeheartedly believe it with all of my heart, I've actually also had it confirmed to me. Like, this has been confirmed to me, okay? But what Patrice said was that the bottom line is that white people are upset that they can't be racist anymore. I mean that racism is no longer the social norm. And they're a little upset about that. You know, they don't want to have to hide behind code words and blah, 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 that. And like I said, that was actually confirmed to me by a gentleman of Caucasian persuasion. So, you know, he was on to something there. And that's a lot of the backlash. And it's not just black people per se. It's basically just people with melanin in their skin. You know what I mean? You know, like the media's got you fearful of anytime you see a Muslim with a beard, thinking he about to blow something up. You know, brown people. Mexicans coming over here taking the jobs. Brown people. You know what I mean? So, yeah. White people are just upset that they can no longer be racist, that the societal norms have changed, and now that is no longer acceptable in a quote-unquote civilized society. And that's led to a lot of these backlashes. Now, be that as it may, at this particular point in time, if you choose to fly the Confederate flag, if you want to have it hanging outside your house, if you want to wear clothes and get the emblem tattooed on you, whatever you want to put on your car, that's on you, man. I'm totally okay with that. I have no problem with that. Now, handling or having the Confederate flag doesn't necessarily make you a racist. However, you got some splaining to do. Especially right now. Let's say that you were completely oblivious to the significance of the Confederate flag. Okay, fair enough. That happens sometimes with white folks. Okay, fair enough. But if you still choose to, after all the backlash and everything that's happened, and also it's a damn shame that 9 people had to die for this to even become a topic in 2015, but that's neither here nor there. If you still choose to be associated with that symbol and that flag in any shape, form, or fashion, I think that tells us exactly where you stand. And I'm cool with that. Like, I'm cool with that. I do. I defend your freedom of speech, man. If you want to say I don't like niggas, I don't like spics, I hate them Jews, by all means, you should be able to say that. I have no beef with that whatsoever. I have no beef with that whatsoever. I have no beef with what Donald Sterling said. I have no beef with that. I expect nothing less of him. We've known he was a white supremacist for years, and everybody turned the other cheek. So now everybody want to have shock and outrage because a white supremacist, a racist, said something racist. That's not news. And in the end, he still won because he sold his team for $2 billion. So, you know, I don't have a problem with that at all. You should be able to say exactly what it is you want to say, because I know I'm going to say what I want to say. So I have no problem with that. If you have hate in your heart, brother, you just go on ahead and let it out. If you've got hate in your heart, you just let it out. I feel you, brother. Go for it, man. Because it's nice to know where people stand, right? Because the knockout blow is the one you never see coming. So yeah, I have no, on an individual basis, you fly that Confederate flag all you want to your little heart's delight, okay? You can just whistle Dixie as you're doing it. But as far as in state buildings and buildings that are supposed to be represented and representative of the people, that's just a slap in the face. And it lets you know exactly where we stand. Like, y'all keep thinking we've made this big leap in progress. We really haven't. We've gained technology, but we really haven't progressed that far in terms of our way of thinking and our mindsets. Like, we haven't progressed as far as you think we have. And that's just real spit. We really haven't. Now, something happened today, this morning, that kind of made my spidey senses tingle a little bit. For those of you just tuning in, I got to talk Bill Cosby, so we're going to get into that shortly. But there was something that happened this morning, actually more like a series of events that happened. Basically, something happened, and I have no idea what it is. Something happened this morning, and I have no idea what it is. So, for starters, there was a series of events, and it just got my spidey senses tingling because I find it hard to believe that all these things would just happen around the same time due to happenstance, right? And I try very hard. As a matter of fact, I go out of my way to avoid conspiracy on this broadcast because I'm not trying to go down that rabbit hole. You know what I mean? I try to put the hay where the horse can eat it, and I show you things that are right there in front of your eyes that you can go look up if you want to yourself. Like, I give you the truth. I think the truth speaks for itself. You know what I mean? So I try not to delve into that world. However, I just don't think it was mere coincidence that these series of events happened around the same time this morning. So for starters, and you might not even be hip to it. You live in your lives, so this one might have slipped under the radar for you as well, which is why I feel the obligation to discuss this to you right now. And then we'll talk briefly about the possible ramifications. So for starters, Greece, the country of Greece, where the Greeks are, they filed for bankruptcy today. Which, as a country, I just don't understand how that makes any sense whatsoever. I don't know how that makes any sense whatsoever. I beg your pardon. However, it happened. They filed for bankruptcy. Now, also this morning, Chinese stocks begin to collapse as well. The Chinese had a brutal day on the market. As a matter of fact, the last number I heard was that they lost 3.5 trillion with a T on the market today. You heard that correctly. 3.5 trillion China lost on the market today. Now, as a result, and then again, the dominoes just keep falling. Now, the New York Stock Exchange, Wall Street and all that stuff, Dow Jones, everything, NASDAQ, they actually shut down operations for some time today. Now, the official word coming out of Wall Street was that it was a computer glitch, rather. However, I got to let you know that my sources are telling me that Wall Street was losing its shit when this happened. Like, of course, you've got to put that out to the public, that little note to kind of calm everything down, because you don't want things going haywire. You know what I mean? You don't want to induce panic. But my sources are telling me that Wall Street was losing their shit when this happened. The whole market shut down. And then the Wall Street Journal website, it shut down. Now, that you can kind of chalk that up to people trying to figure out what's going on, and everybody's going to that website and the service crashed. You can chalk that up to that. But United Airlines, and I actually woke up to this, and I didn't think anything about it initially, but I actually woke up to this story, that the United Airlines, a lot of their planes were grounded, and they weren't going anywhere because of a quote-unquote computer glitch. I actually woke up to that story, and I just saw it in passing, so I didn't really think anything about it. Plus, I just woke up, so I'm a little groggy. So that's a lot of coincidences that happen around the same time frame, right? So it kind of got my spidey senses tingling a little bit. Like I said, something happened. I have no idea what it means. I got to keep doing some research. I don't know if Greece was the catalyst. I don't know. I need to do more research into the Greek economy apparently and see how that whole thing went down. But now that's problematic because see, China right now in the world, we're the muscle. When I say we, I mean America. We're the muscle, but China is the money. And they've been fitting the bill for a lot of countries right now, if you understand what I'm saying. They're fitting the bill for a lot of countries, right? And China as a country itself, they're running out of space. Their economy has actually been in decline for some time now because they are quite literally running out of space. They don't have enough anything for the amount of people that are over there. You know, there's like 64.5 billion people in China. Numbers may vary. But they don't have enough space. They don't have enough anything. They don't have enough space. They don't have enough land. They don't have enough resources, jobs, anything for the amount of people that they have. So they're running out of everything. So we've kind of been in a race with China right now, trying to colonize Africa because they're trying to get over there just like we're trying to get over there. But at this point in time, China has to expand, or their entire economic system is going to collapse because they're just plain and simply running out of resources. They just have way too many people and not enough resources for those people. So either they expand or that whole economic system is going to collapse. Now, if that happens, and I'm not trying to be doom and gloom here, I'm just trying to tell you what the ramifications may be so you can understand how the events of this morning made my spidey senses tingle, and we can kind of tie it all together. If the Chinese economy collapses, that's going to have reverberations that are going to reverberate throughout the entire world, and a lot of countries are going to go right down with them, including us. So yeah, if that Chinese economy collapses, a lot of people are screwed, including us. What's up, Nitty? Frank says China's in a depression. Yeah, and it's simple supply and demand. They have way too many people and not enough resources, not enough land, not enough economic opportunities, not enough jobs, not enough food. They just don't have enough for what they have, for the people that they have. So they have to expand, or that whole system and the whole economy is going to collapse. And unfortunately, when that happens, that's going to drag us down with them as well. They'll call that debt we owe them. Yeah, they will. But that's game. That's game. But at the same time, you can't get blood from a turnip, so what they gonna do? You know what I mean? And quite frankly, there might not be another option. Like because if the Chinese economy collapses and our economy goes with it, and we're a warring country, we might have to go to war with the melon farmers, man, because war equals money. So we might be forced to go to war with the melon farmers. Now, that's down the line. You know what I mean? I'm not saying that's going to happen. I'm just saying, judging by the history of this country and knowing that we are a war country, that I just told you, we're the muscle in the world. So that's why the events of this morning made my spidey senses tingle. Like I said, something happened. I just don't know what it is. I don't know how monumental it is. It might not be anything. And it might just be that this was just a glitch in the matrix. However, I doubt that. But something happened. I just don't know what it is. So I just wanted to kind of throw that out to you guys and put that bug in your ears so you can kind of stay tuned and watch how this money thing works, man. Because something's going on. Something is definitely going on. So, y'all want to talk Cosby? Y'all want to talk Cosby? I guess we kind of got to talk Cosby, right? We got to talk Cosby because it's now back in rotation. That story is now back in rotation. And so we have to touch on it. Got to touch on it. Got to get the people what they want. So, no need to give you the summary. You guys know exactly what's going on. You know exactly what's going on. So, the first thing I thought or the first thing that stood out in my mind rather, was how polarizing this situation is. And it really shouldn't have stood out in my mind, because that's just kind of how it is now. Everything is black and white. Everything is up and down. Everything is left and right. You understand? Like, everything is polarizing. You either, Pepsi or Coke. Whack Arnold's or Burger Queen. You know what I mean? Everything is so polarizing. And I find it amusing because, just as living life, just living your day-to-day existence, that few things and few humans are that black and white. We tend to operate as human beings. We tend to operate in the gray area, don't we? And anybody that chooses to raise questions, they just get shat on right now in the media. But I want you to peek the hypocrisy of the situation, because while this is going on, has anybody said anything about good old Jared down there at Subway? Did y'all hear about that one? Yeah, Jared, the fat motherfucker that, lost 860 pounds eating Subway sandwiches and drinking Kool-Aid. Yeah, he got caught up in some sort of child pornography ring. Now the guy that runs his foundation, he was found guilty and brought up on charges a few months ago. So he might be trying to snitch to get his time cut. I don't know. But they raided his house. They haven't arrested him yet, but they raided his house. And anybody that knows anything about the legal system, when the feds come knocking at your door, that's not a good look. Because, see, the feds don't move until they have concrete evidence. So when the feds come knocking at your door, you may need to make some arrangements, because you might be going to lay it down for a minute. So you might want to make some phone calls and make some arrangements. But that one is just kind of going under the radar. That's just kind of a blip of the radar. Like I said, I don't even know how many of you guys saw that. And that's not to exonerate Cosby whatsoever. Trust and believe, I am not in any way, shape, form, or fashion pulling out the cape for Bill Cosby at all. Not since, the past 10 and 15 years, he's done nothing but shit on poor people. So I'm not riding with Cosby whatsoever. So don't get that misconstrued. Don't get that twisted. Frank said, if you were the people from the Cosby Show, we're going to get to that, man. We're going to get to that. That's a very good question, man. I'm going to come back to that one. That's a very good question. That's not a bad strategy. We'll get to that in a second, though. But I'm just saying, yeah, not riding for Cosby on this. I'm just saying, let's, don't be afraid to ask questions. Don't get into this mob mentality, because right now we have a mob mentality with this social media. So, you believe this, that person believes that. And it's like they believe this, they believe that. And if you even try to think of coming up with an opposing view, they just shut you down automatically. Like, they're vehemently sticking to these things. No matter what evidence comes out, no matter what facts comes out, each side is vehemently digging in and holding on to their particular position. Personally, I don't know if he did or if he didn't. He might have, he might not. I have no idea. Like, I don't know. And I'm too ignorant on the situation to give you a intelligent opinion or critique on what's going on. So rather, I just want to ask a few questions, because there's compelling evidence both sides, right? For example, for starters, on one hand, I just find it really hard to believe that there was a black man in the 60s going around raping all these white women willy-nilly, and nobody said anything and nobody did anything. Now, I'm not saying it didn't happen. It might have happened. I'm just saying I find that hard to believe, just understanding the historical significance of that time period and where America was in that particular frame in time. Just having a historical context of the happenings of that particular era in history, I find it really hard to believe that a black man, and I don't care how famous he is, in the 60s was going around raping all these white women willy-nilly, and nobody brought up charges, nobody did anything. I don't know. It could have been. I don't know. It could have happened. And then I ask myself, well, why are these allegations resurfacing all of a sudden? Because these allegations are new. These allegations have been out there for years. Oh, let me say this before I forget. Jared allegedly is caught up in a child pornography ring. You know, Lord knows I don't want to get sued on no dumb shit. So allegedly, Jared from Subway is caught up in an alleged child pornography ring. I just had to clarify that. So why are these allegations resurfacing just out of a sudden? You know, they've been around forever, and now they just happened to resurface last year. So I don't understand why that is. And what took these women so long to come out and tell this story? However, on the other hand, what is it, up to 30 some odd women? Can 30 some odd women really be lying? Are 30 some odd women really going to be lying? Like, that's kind of damning as well. You know what I mean? And all of their stories seem to corroborate each other's, which is damning as well. Because, you know, I could get 30 women right here in the Plaque Cave right now, and I couldn't get them to agree on anything. So that's pretty damning. Like, you know, are 30 women really going to lie? And see, the way the media spins it, because it gives you a emotional reaction, they spin it as he admitted in the 2005 deposition to drugging and raping women. Like, those are actual headlines that you're going to see, or that you've probably already seen. No. That's not what happened. That's not what he did. Again, I'm not exonerating Bill. I'm not riding for Bill. I don't have a cape on for Bill. You know what I mean? But that's not what he said. What the deposition said is that he admitted to drugging women with Quaaludes in an attempt to try to sleep with them. So in the 2005 deposition, tonight's broadcast brought to you by the good folks at Chardonnay. Such a neat finish. Put the pinky up. So in the 2005 deposition, he says that he admitted to giving women Quaaludes in an attempt to sleep with them. So you might be saying to yourself, well, that's just semantics, Chris. You know, that's just you getting caught up in semantics. Okay, fair enough. But would somebody out there do this for me? Answer this question for me, please. Somebody. Could somebody tell me what the difference between that is, what I just said? Could one of you please tell me what the difference between that is and you calling up a chick? Hey, what up? I got a bottle, swing through. What's the difference between that? Somebody please explain that to me, the difference. I'll wait. I'll give you a minute. So what's the difference between that? Frank said, was consensual. Okay, oh, they won't let you say sex on there, huh? Sex. Yeah, he admitted to giving women Quaaludes. So what's the difference between that? Because isn't the desired effect the exact same? I'm just asking questions here. You know what I mean? I don't have a dog in the fight. I'm just asking questions. But isn't the desired effect the exact same? Like, aren't you hoping to get her in a good, comfortable mood in an attempt to lower her inhibitions so that eventually you can lower her panties? See, brothers and sisters, we got to be careful when we get up on them soapboxes and on them high horses, because it's a long fall down. And I'm not saying that from a self-righteous place. I mean, bruh, we all got that one in the playbook. I mean, it is what it is. I'm not condoning it, but we all got that one in the playbook, right? So really, what's the difference? I'm just offering a matter of perspective, that's all. And I'm just asking questions. What's the difference? You know? And perhaps, I'm just throwing this out there, perhaps, maybe, if we actually gave a damn about women as a society, maybe if as a society we actually, you know, truly cared and gave a damn about women, perhaps we would have come up with a concrete definition of the word rape by 2015. I'm not saying, I'm just saying, I'm just asking questions. I'm just asking questions, right? Frank said he did the Quaalude secretly. No, he handed it to him, because if you listen to the women that came out, they said to a person, he gave me a pill and I took it. Yeah, he wasn't like slipping these in the drinks. They all said the same thing. He gave me a pill and I took it. You know what I mean? All the women are saying that. He gave me a pill and I took it. So like he's not like sneaking it in their food or anything like that. But you also have to understand that as a civilization, as time moves on, civilizations, they advance. You know what I mean? They advance, they evolve, things change, societal norms change as well. For example, gay used to mean happy. You know, way back in the day, scientists used to try to cure diseases by putting leeches on people's body and letting them suck out the contaminated and poisonous blood, the diseased blood. As recently as the 50s, doctors used to advise pregnant women to smoke in order to keep off the baby weight. So societies change, societies evolve, social norms change. And again, going back to the climate, we're talking about the 60s and 70s here. Drug use was rampant. So giving a woman a Quaalude in the 60s and the 70s is the equivalent to giving a woman popping a Molly today. And for those of you that don't know Molly, ecstasy. It's the equivalent. It's just that societal norms has changed. And especially back in the 60s and 70s, you know, drug use was rampant. Or I shouldn't say that, because drug use hasn't gone down, but illicit drug use was rampant. You know, back in the 70s, people did coke like you drink a beer or have a glass of wine. So societal norms were different. You understand? They still use leeches? Wow. They ain't come up with nothing better than that? Or are they just highly effective? But yeah, so societal norms change. So things that were acceptable back in the day are not acceptable now. Like we talked about it earlier. White people are mad because it's no longer socially acceptable to be racist. It's the same thing. Societal norms change. Societies evolve. Again, I'm just asking questions. And this is true, right? Like societies do evolve, right? And then I also think a little bit about, because see, when you understand how the game goes, you understand that all these clowns care about is the money. The bottom line is the bottom line. So then always track the money. Always follow the money, because the money will lead you to the motives. And I'm not saying this is the case. I'm just asking questions, because I don't know either way. I'm just asking questions. But, and you talked about it on here, Frank, that they canceled. You asked me were they going to sue them for canceling the show. Yeah, so everybody's pulled all the reruns. I think they're off Netflix now. Yesterday, some black cable network that nobody's ever heard of pulled the reruns as well. And you know, in that TV world, that's where the money comes in, is the royalties and the residuals from those episodes. And think about this. I don't know if the Cosby Show would have ever gone off the air. Like, you know, never say never, but the Cosby Show may have never went off the air. They might have always been playing the Cosby Show somewhere. It might have never got canceled, might have never went out of syndication, went out of rotation, right? Because if you think about it, it's really the perfect television show. It's clean, it's wholesome, it's not vulgar. Bill Cosby is acceptable to everybody, black, white, whomever. Everybody loves Bill Cosby. He's universally loved. Excuse me. And the topics are always going to be relevant. And the humor is always going to be relevant, because the entire show is revolved around a family. And everybody has family. A-Ro says they still have the Cosby Show on Hulu. That's what's up. So if you want to watch that, yeah. Yeah, you see where I'm going with this, Frank. So you see where I'm going with this, brother. Theo gonna be out there slinging dick to 60-year-old soccer grandmothers. Like, I'm doing Theo, you know. Shout out to Malcolm Jamal Warner, man. He's a good brother, man. He's a real good dude. He's doing all right. He gonna be all right. But yeah, you see where I'm going though. So yeah, I don't know if that show would have ever been pulled, man. So that money would have just kept coming in, and those residual checks would have just kept coming in perpetuity. So and so it's cutting into the money. Now, I've had this conversation with people, and people have told me, well, no, Bill Cosby's fine. He's got enough money and he's going to be all right. No, 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 no. I'm not talking about this generation or even the next generation. I'm talking about in perpetuity, to have a vehicle like that always constantly in motion. Can you imagine? Do you understand what that could mean to the Cosby? That could have meant to the Cosby legacy, to the Cosby empire. Like, they could have been on some Kennedy shit. Because every time a Kennedy baby comes out the womb, they got a trust fund set up with either 10 or 20 million in it. Like, he could have been on that perpetual income. And you shut that off. And the one thing we know about Bill, whether you love him or hate him, the one thing we know about him, because he's been saying this forever, is that he is a huge proponent of education. So can you imagine what a black family with the cachet of the Cosby name, an infinite amount of resources and wealth, and an emphasis on education, because you know he preached that to his troops, because he's been preaching to us for 50 years between selling pudding pops and shit about education. So you know he instilled that within his family. Can you imagine what that could have done? I'm not just talking about this generation or the next generation. I'm talking about in perpetuity. Can you imagine what that could have done? And the impact culturally that could have had on society? Because as it stands right now, I don't know if that show is going to ever get back on the air. Because, I mean, he's at least, at the very least, we can all agree that he's got to die first, right? And then after he dies, it still might be 20, 30, 40, maybe 50 years before they bring that one back. And by then, the show might be lost to history. You know, y'all remember Dobie Gillis? Exactly. My Three Sons. You know what I mean? It might be lost to history by then. So yeah, could you imagine the cultural impact that could have had to have that prominent, wealthy black family in perpetuity? Like I said, think the Kennedys, think the Bushes, think like that. You know, think dynasty, think long-term ramifications. So like I said, I'm just asking questions, because he might have did it, he might not. And we're trained to not ask questions. Even as kids, we're trained not to ask questions. And our parents tell us that because we get on their nerves, because if they didn't shut us up, we'd always be talking. But don't ever lose that inquisitiveness about you. You need that. It's important to ask questions, because if it's the truth and it's the real thing, it's going to stand up over questioning, right? So don't be afraid to question everything you believe. And if you're afraid to question what you believe, question why you're afraid to question what you believe. So I'm not saying, again, I'm just asking questions here. I'm just asking questions. He might have did it, he might not. But again, you have to factor everything into the consideration. You can't just go with the soundbite. And don't get caught up in that mob mentality. Don't be afraid to think for yourself. And I'm not going to lie to you. Sometimes that's the hard, lonely road, man. But I'm just saying, just don't get caught up in that mob mentality, because that's where they got us. Everything is black and white, up or down, right or wrong, left or right. Whereas human beings, we tend to operate in shades of gray, right? We operate more in the gray area than anywhere else, right? And a lot of that is because we need enemies. Or we need villains, rather. We need villains, because villains make us feel better about ourselves. So we can point our finger at them, and we can get up on our high horse and say that's a bad person. Because that feeds our ego. We do things like that. We tear other people down to feed our ego, because our self-esteem is insufficient. So that's why we're always looking to create the next villain. So again, he might have did it, he might not have. I don't know. But I'm just asking questions. And don't be afraid to ask questions because they've been vilifying people that have the audacity to ask questions. All I'm doing is asking questions. All I'm doing is asking questions. And frankly, I don't know if they could even sue in the court of law to I don't know how they could sue in the court of law for that, because they could say that was an independent. Our market's research said that it behooved us to take this off the air, and I don't really know how you fight that. And yeah, not only does it cut off the Cosby money, but it cuts off all the kids' money too, and all the co-stars. So you could have had a generations of these wealthy black families, that have this perpetual income rolling in as they're doing other things and diversifying. So again, I'm not saying, I'm just saying. I'm merely just asking questions. That's all. Don't be afraid to ask questions. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. And also notice how they're tearing Bill Cosby down, but nobody says anything about Woody Allen. Woody Allen raised his fucking wife. He raised his wife and then he married her. Google Roman Polanski. Oh, they can't sue Bill, man, because he had nothing to do with that decision. You know what I mean? That's up to the networks whether or not they want to show the show. Like, you can't really sue Bill for that. You know what I mean? They can try, but they ain't gonna get nowhere. Plus, those kids and everybody associated with that vehicle have the utmost loyalty for Cosby because they know exactly what he did for them. So they wouldn't do that. They know exactly the type of vehicle and what he did for them. You know what I mean? So they have the utmost loyalty for Cosby. So they're not gonna do that. You know what I mean? They're not going to do that because they understand what I just told you. Because I'm pretty sure he told them that as well. So yeah, they're not gonna go there. So yeah, don't be afraid to ask questions. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying he did it. I'm not saying he didn't do it. I really honestly don't know, and I'm too ignorant to know. I'm just merely asking questions. And nobody says anything about Woody Allen. Nobody says anything about Roman Polanski. Every now and again, they'll bring up the Woody stuff, but not really. And now with Bill Cosby, whenever his name is brought up, it's going to be synonymous with this particular thing. So now the man's iconic status is destroyed as well. Although, in my opinion, it was destroyed a long time ago because he's just a crazy, bitter old man now. But, you know, he's you know, I'm just saying. I'm just posing questions. You know what I mean? That's all. I'm just posing questions. Don't be afraid to ask questions. So that's all I'm saying. Those are my thoughts on the Bill Cosby situation. I guess we'll see what happens. What do you guys think? You guys think he did it unequivocally? What do you think? And yes, again, Cosby is still on Hulu if you want to go check it out. But yeah, man, be careful about getting up on that high horse again. Now, I will say this about Bill, too. So, again, we talked about how societal norms were different. And nobody forced these women to take these pills. Remember that. Nobody forced them. They consensually took the pill. Now, you can make the counter argument to that Bill was such a powerful man and they were in awe and intimidated of him, and they were also trying to get on, and they felt pressured to fit into the situation, or that they were somewhat coerced into taking the medication. Like, you can make that argument, and that might be the case. They might have felt that way. You know what I mean? That could be the case. You can make that argument. But, you know, he kind of sounds less to me like serial rapist, and more like sleazy dude with no game, right? And I also say this, that when you, again, going back to putting yourself up on the high horse, because again, Bill has spent the last 10, 15 years shitting on poor people, right? You shouldn't do that. You shouldn't look down on people, because if not for the grace of God, there go I. And when you present this pristine public image of yourself, and when that's not really who you are, and when the human creeps out of that public image, that fall is long, that fall is hard, and that fall is lonely. Don't take my word for it. Ask Eldrick Woods about that one. Ask that gay guy that was the voice of Elmo. Ask Pee Wee Herman. Ask Pee Wee Herman. Pee Wee Herman got popped masturbating in adult theater. That's exactly what you do in those establishments. That's kind of the point of watching porn, right? To get off. But because he had that child, that pristine image, it destroyed it. Personally, if I get caught masturbating in a adult theater, first thing y'all gonna do is laugh and say, "Oh boy, Chris is crazy," and then y'all gonna hit me up to try to get the story because there is one, right? But I don't try to present that pristine image to people, man. I try to give you exactly who I am. So I give you me, man, warts and all. I'm not talking down to you. I'm not talking in a condescending way to you. I'm right down there in the filth with you, trying to get clean my damn self. I'm just conscious and cognizant of what it is, man, and I try to share those experiences with you as I try to be a better person and a better man day by day. But be careful getting up on that soapbox, man, because you say Quaaludes. Yeah, what's the difference between Molly? What's the difference between X? What's the difference between alcohol? Right? I spent some time recently in county jail, and I was talking to the brothers. I was talking to some of the brothers and some of the inmates that were there, and I was just listening. I was just listening to their stories. And damn near to a man, everything kind of fell apart because of drug addiction. Like, these people weren't criminals. They were drug addicts. They're not criminals. But it's easy to treat them like criminals because we've been trained to have a certain stigma about illicit drugs. Even though everybody gets high. Like, you look at the average junkie, the average crackhead or meth head or whatever it is, and you look down upon them, yet still you can't function in the morning until you've had your cup of coffee. Right? Sometimes you just need a smoke, right? I know that feeling. A little caffeine, a little nicotine. Like, everybody gets high, man. And nobody ever says anything about the suburban soccer mom who just chewed 5 Vicodin for breakfast and washed it down with a Bloody Mary and is going to be driving her kids around all day. Doesn't have that same stigma, does it? See, it's levels to this stuff, man. But it's all the same stuff. Everybody does the same things, man. Just depending on your lot in life or your social economic status and other varying factors as well. But everybody gets high, man. Frank said, I almost feel like he got off on drugging them. But again, man, he wasn't. What's the difference between that and, taking a broad over and giving her a bottle or something like that and getting her drunk? What's the difference? I'm not saying it's right. I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm just saying, what's the difference? It's just a matter of perspective. And I try to show you guys not to get caught up in the hypocrisy of it all, because that's all it is. It's the hypocrisy of it all. You know what I mean? I just advise you all not to get caught up in that. Frank also says, I find it weird that Cosby would have to drug women to sleep with him. But you acting like it's drugs. You still acting like, okay, I'm going to get, you know what I mean? You still act, well, yeah, I feel what you're saying. But like I said, what's the difference between giving her 5 shots or bringing her over to hit that weed? I'm not saying it's right. I'm just asking questions. That's all. I'm just asking questions. And as a matter of fact, Holly Madison, she's writing a tell-all book now about her time at the Playboy Mansion. And an excerpt actually came out yesterday as well that flew under the radar. Y'all can Google this. You know what I mean? I'm dead on. I'm dead serious. Y'all can Google this if you'd like. And in the article or in the excerpt, she was talking about how the first time she met Hef, he offered her a quaalude and she declined. And she made it. She said that Hef made a joke talking about that back in the 70s they were called thigh openers. But again, societal norms have changed too, man. And you also got to understand that, man, a lot of men, or most men, actually look at women as nothing more than baby making cum dumpsters. That's a harsh reality. Like I'm saying, like if we actually gave a damn about women in this society, at the very least in 2015, man, we'd have a uniform and concrete definition of the word rape, right? Or the term rape, or what exactly rape is, right? Because the way I understand it, that's a terrible, terrible, terrible thing. And I wouldn't wish that on anybody. And that is absolutely heinous. It's a completely heinous act. But you also have to understand that rape isn't about sexual gratification. Rape is about power. And quite frankly, my heart really goes out to my sisters that have dealt with that, because I don't know how you could ever trust a man again. Ever. And to have that taken from you, man, that's horrific. But see, we only care about humans or women, actually the same way we only care about blacks and other minorities, when it benefits us, when we can throw somebody else under the bus about it and make us feel better about ourselves. I'm telling you, man, we have not evolved as much as we think we have. We the top of the food chain, but it's by default, nigga. So I'm just saying, I'm just trying to bring a little interpretation to the situation. All I'm doing is just asking questions, man. That's all. All I'm doing is asking questions. Because remember, they had y'all thinking Mike touched them kids too. Had y'all convinced of that. As a matter of fact, one of the kids has come out after his death saying that his parents put him up to the whole thing, trying to get some money. You remember that? All right? And they were mad at Mike because Mike was the majority owner of the Sony catalog. Mike cut a deal with the Japanese out there in Sony, and he owned 51% of the Sony catalog. So that's like most of the Beatles catalog. That's Elvis catalog. That's actually why he married that girl, Lisa Marie. That was a very Machiavellian move in Mike, because he wanted to get his hands on that Elvis masters. He even bought Eminem's masters. Like he got Eminem. He was pissed off. You remember that song Eminem came out with where he was dancing in the video and he was doing a caricature of Michael Jackson, and he only did that because his record label put him up to that, because they needed another My Name Is to try to sell the album. You know what I mean? They needed another smash like that. And yeah, and Mike was mad, and yeah, he bought a lot of Eminem's publishing. And there's also oil underneath that Neverland Ranch as well. You don't know nothing about that. But there's also oil underneath that Neverland Ranch, because they tried to portray that Mike was broke. Mike was not broke, dude. Mike was not broke. But I'm not saying, I'm just saying. That could all be for nine, and Bill Cosby might just be some creepy racist dude that slang us pudding pops and told us to pull our pants up. But again, when you try to portray that pristine public image, and then you fall because you're human, that's a long, hard fall, man. And there's going to be nobody there with a handout to help you up. So just be careful about being on that high horse, man, because it's a long way down. Be careful about being up on that high horse, because it is a long way down. So I'm going to get to this last question here. And then I'm actually going to switch the platform when I get done answering this last question, because it kind of ties into where we were at. And you can join me on the Periscope app. Again, follow me at the Real C Plat on Twitter, and you can join me at the Periscope app, or on the Periscope app. I'm going to be there for probably another 10-15 minutes, and we're going to discuss the importance of integrity. We're going to talk a little bit about the importance of integrity. So you can log on to Twitter. As soon as this broadcast is over, we're gonna switch the format to the Periscope app. This is an experiment. We're just gonna see if it works. You know what I mean? I'm spitballing here, trying to see what works and what doesn't. So we're gonna switch to the Periscope app, and we're gonna discuss for a few minutes the importance of having integrity. Okay? But yeah, So I don't know what's going on with Cosby. He might have. I don't know. Frank says I almost feel like he got off on drugging them. I think he just got off on pussy and didn't have no game and needed some help. Because I know what you say to yourself. Why would Bill Cosby have to drug somebody with it? Just because he's Bill Cosby doesn't mean he got game. And plus, societal norms were different as well, man. So women didn't have the voice back then that they have now. You understand? Like back then, if your boss smacked you on the ass, you just kind of had to suck it up and take it because you needed that job. But now, at the very least, there's certain parameters in the way that at least keeps people in check for, I don't want to say for the most part, but kind of. Does that make sense what I'm trying to say? That being said, we still got to value our women more in society. That's just what it is, man. You know what I mean? They got to value themselves more as well. Like, this didn't a man bashing thing. Like, women, y'all got to start valuing yourselves more as well. You know? But I put it on the fellas because as the man, we have to set the example. You understand? And once we set the example, the women will follow suit. There's a reason why every picture of your grandmother, she was always dressed to the nines and had her good dress on and had on her pearls and was looking real pretty. Because right next to her, your grandfather was in that same picture, suited and booted, right? And he held it down like an anvil on a seesaw, right? But the last question kind of ties into where we left off with the Cosby thing about presenting this false projected image of yourself. And A-Ro asked me, did I hear about Russell Wilson's interview where he talks about Sierra and how they're abstaining from sex until marriage? And that kind of goes along with that. Because Russell Wilson wants to become the poster boy of the NFL. He wants to become the highest paid quarterback as well. So he's in the contract negotiations. So he's trying to make himself the hottest commodity that he possibly can be. Now, Russell has a lot of things going for him. I think the main thing Russell has going for him, and he might be a nice guy in real life, I don't know. He seems like a good dude, maybe a little corny, but he actually seems like he's a legitimately good dude. But I don't know because I don't know him, right? But I think the main thing he has going for him is the same thing that got The Rock over. And the same reason that The Rock is such a big, huge crossover star. And it's because he's racially ambiguous. Like, The Rock can be anything you want him to be. And Russell Wilson kind of falls into that category as well. So you can say if you're a white person struggling with coming to grips with your internal racism, and Cam Newton is just a little too niggerish for you, you can fall back and say, well, I like Russell Wilson, so I'm clearly not racist. Why can't Cam be more like Russell, right? Because Cam's another one of those figures that's very polarizing. So Russell is trying to project, again, he's trying to project his image, and it might be him. It might be him. But he's saying all the right things right now, and he's not making any waves, and that's why he's going to get his money. Because, that team got Beast Mode and Richard Sherman on it. So, of course, Seattle wants to make Russell Wilson their poster boy, right? And who's to say that he hasn't already hit them buns? See, I believe he probably already hit them buns. This was probably just some epiphany they had. I don't know, man. What do y'all think? But yeah, when dealing with the Cosby thing, again, remember, he never came out and said he drugged these women and raped them. No, he said he gave them Quaaludes because he wanted to have sex with them. Again, that's no different than you grabbing a bottle and telling a girl to swing through. I'm not saying it's good or bad, right or wrong. I'm just trying to put things in perspective and show you how not to fall for the bullshit and the hypocrisy of the whole thing. Meanwhile, Jared from Subway allegedly got kitty porn on his damn computer, and you hear not a beep from him, right? You ain't hearing a peep about that. Allegedly. $5 footlong has a whole new meaning now, doesn't it? So I'm just saying, man, notice the hypocrisy of it all. And notice how having that vehicle for his family and for the families of his co-stars and producers and everything, how that could be a threat to white supremacy. I'm not saying it could be he's just a creepy rapist dude. And God will sort that out, so I'm not too worried about it. God will sort that one out. And again, the Quaalude, that's no different than popping a Molly. I mean, just society advances, man. It evolves, man. Social norms change. Hell, we used to think Soul Child's music was good. You know, we was bumping music. You remember that? Like, I was digging me some music. Man, you go back and listen to some of those songs now, man, that's like the Simps Bible. You know what I mean? Number one, he's not that great of a voice. And yeah, those songs, man, that's like the Simps Bible, man. Music songs, that's music, his lyrics, that's the type of shit that them white boys be saying in those manifestos. Music makes manifesto music, man. Yeah. I'm not trying to pressure you. I just can't stop thinking about you. You don't even have to be my girlfriend. I just want to know your name and maybe sometime we can hang out, hook up, just chill. Man, I'm surprised that you called. Yeah, you don't get no buns that way, dude. See, that's what happens, man, when, you know, these women are raised to raise these men. No disrespect to the women. That's what happens when these women are left to raise these men. And they tell them all that sucker shit and all that sappy shit to try to how to talk to women that women don't respond to. I just want to love her and hold her and cherish her. You know what I mean? Me was the type of dude put a poem in the girls' locker in high school. And I say that from experience because, again, I used to be that guy, man. Like in high school, yeah, coincidentally enough, I was that music dude. And not so coincidentally, I got no buns in high school. And I was a hooper, for Christ's sakes. I mean, you know what I mean? Anywho, man. So, yeah, so we're going to go ahead and wrap this portion of the program up. And again, come see me on Twitter, man. Follow me on Twitter at The Real C Platt. We're going to do a few minutes on the Periscope app, and we're going to talk about the importance of having integrity, okay? So we're going to log off this here. Give me about 5 minutes, and we'll be on that Periscope app talking about the importance of having integrity, okay? Again, you guys can follow me at Facebook or at Christopher Platt. You can also, again, follow me on Twitter at The Real C Platt. We're going to have a little fun. We're going to experiment a little bit with this Periscope app. I hope to see you there. And in the meantime, man, God willing, we'll see you guys back here next week on the Ustream platform. Same Platt time, same Platt channel. Again, we're not over. Switch over to your Periscope app. We're going to talk a little bit on there. Hopefully, I'll still be able to get your questions, comments, and concerns as well. So until I see you guys again, shalom.